Welcome to Fourth and Inches. I'm Nate Smith, your host. Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas this past week. I know I certainly did. Me and my family had a grand old time at home, opening presents, family cheer. New Year's Eve around the corner. That's also great news for everyone. Can't wait to, I'm actually going to Philadelphia to meet up with another member of Fourth and Inches, Jordan D'Souza, who hasn't been with us for the past couple weeks because of winter break. We had to be separated. But we will reunite in just a couple short days here on the 30th of December. Gonna go to the Cowboys-Eagles game on New Year's Day and hang out in Philly for a couple days, so that should be a great time. Anyways, enough about my holiday season. Let's get to the game recap. Here we go for the Week 16 rapid recap. Kick things off on Thursday night with the NFC East divisional matchup, Giants at the Eagles. Eagles won this one by a score of 24-19. Eli Manning attempted 63 passes for 356 yards, but it was not enough as he only had one touchdown and 3 interceptions. Dolphins at Bills on the Christmas Eve games. Finns win this one 34-31. In OT, Jay Ajayi had himself a day. J-Train, 206 yards on the ground and 1 score. Patriots at Jets. Pats win in an absolute whomping 41-3. Brady, 214 yards through the air and 3 touchdown passes. Titans at Jaguars. In a pivotal game for the Titans at this point of the season, looking to clinch the AFC South division, ends in disaster. Jags won this one by a score of 38-17, and the Titans lost their starting quarterback Marcus Mariota to a broken leg. Bortles finished the game with 325 yards and 1 touchdown. Vikings at Packers in the NFC North showdown. Pack won this one by a score of 38-25 on the back of Aaron Rodgers, who had 347 yards and 5 total touchdowns. Chargers at Browns. Merry Christmas, Cleveland. Browns get their first win of the season, 20-17. Isaiah Crowell, 54 yards on the ground, 2 scores. Redskins at Bears. Skins win this one by a score of 41-21. However, the Bears wide receiver Cameron Meredith had himself a day, 135 yards and 1 touchdown. Falcons at Panthers. Panthers win this one pretty easily by a score of 33-16. Who else but Matt Ryan to lead them to victory? He was absolutely electric. Finished with 277 yards and 2 touchdowns. Colts at Raiders. Raiders win this one by a score of 33-25. DeAndre Washington had himself a day, 99 yards on the ground and 2 scores. Buccaneers at Saints in the NFC South rivalry. Saints win this one 31-24. Drew Brees, 299 yards and 1 touchdown. Cardinals at Seahawks in probably the best game of Saturday. Cardinals win this one by a score of 34-31. David Johnson continues his outstanding year, 95 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns, as the Cardinals were able to kick a field goal as time expires to win the game. 49ers at Rams. Niners pick up their second win of the year, 22-21. Colin Kaepernick, 266 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns. The Christmas Eve night game, Bengals at Texans. Texans win the ugliest game of the year, 12-10, on a missed field goal by Randy Bullock as time expired. Ravens at Steelers. Steelers win this one by a score of 31-27. Le'Veon Bell had 122 yards on the ground and 1 score. Absolutely incredible game, Ravens and Steelers on Christmas Day. Antonio Brown ended up scoring late in the game to give the Steelers the win. Broncos at Chiefs in another smackdown. Chiefs win this one 33-10. Travis Kelce came to play, 160 yards, 1 touchdown. Capping it off with Monday Night Football, Lions at the Cowboys. Cowboys win this one by a score of 42-21 in a dominant performance. Ezekiel Elliott added 80 yards on the ground and 2 scores. And that's your Week 16 rapid recap. This past weekend was filled with some very entertaining games, that's for sure. But I think we have a better idea now of who's for real and who we should really be worried about in the playoffs. Take a team such as the Miami Dolphins, for example, led by backup quarterback Matt Moore, go into Buffalo and win 34-31. Dominant performance offensively, at least. Gave up a lot of yards defensively. But to start it off, I don't think the Miami Dolphins are really a team that can make much noise in the playoffs. The AFC playoff picture is pretty weak overall, but I don't see the Dolphins making much noise. Maybe one win, but no more than one win in the playoffs. I really think it's just going to come down to Patriots Steelers to decide the AFC. That should definitely be the AFC Championship game, barring a major upset, in my opinion. The injury to Raiders quarterback Derek Carr is just horrible for the Raiders season. Before Saturday, I would have said my prediction for the AFC Championship would have been Raiders-Patriots. But obviously, we cannot expect the Raiders to win a playoff game without their starting quarterback, who was very high in the MVP conversation and having the best year of his young career. Suffered a broken leg against Indianapolis in the second half that will effectively end his season. So just a crushing blow for the Oakland Raiders and that fan base, who have been waiting on a playoff run for a while now. And just as they were primed to get one, their star quarterback went down. So that's never good. Another star quarterback that went down this past weekend was Titans quarterback Marcus Mariota. Also broke his leg. And that's just crushing for Tennessee, because if they were to win this game against the Jaguars last week, they would have put themselves in a great position to win the AFC South. But now losing that game and the Texans winning, they are effectively eliminated from the playoffs. Who knows if they could have made much noise in the playoffs anyways, but obviously losing their starting quarterback eliminated them altogether, even if they somehow did squeak in. The Titans are nothing without Marcus Mariota. Green Bay just keeps on rolling. As far as teams you don't want to see in the playoffs, I think Green Bay has to be towards the top of the list. I mean, they have just been on an absolute tear of late. Aaron Rodgers is playing some of the best football he's played in a long, long time. At the beginning of the year, people were on his case. Oh, what's wrong with Aaron? Is he okay? Looks like he's just fine, ladies and gentlemen. This past game, 347 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing for 5 total touchdowns, a passer rating of 136.6, just unbelievable. A concern for the Packers still, though, is their running game has not been there. As a team, they rushed for 40 yards, so that's going to be a problem in the playoffs. But, I mean, no one can argue with this receiving core. Jordy Nelson had 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams added 44 yards and a touchdown. Randall Cobb did not play in this game, but he is a very, very elusive slot threat for them. I mean, the Packers are just playing great ball. They've won their last 5. And then before that, they had lost 4 in a row. So, as you can see, the Packers have been a very streaky team this year. Whether that's good or that's bad, that will remain to be seen. But in the playoffs, honestly, the toughest teams that you can face are the streaky ones, such as the Giants on that 2011 championship run. Sometimes those wild card teams sneak in there and they get hot. So that could be trouble for anyone who plays the Packers. The Browns got their first win, man. Truly unbelievable. 2017 over the Chargers. Chargers played not a very good game. Phillip Rivers ended with some pretty good numbers, but just didn't make the throws that were necessary when he needed to. The Chargers defense has no business giving up 20 points to the Browns. Overall bad day for San Diego and what's been a pretty forgettable season. The Redskins keep their playoff hopes alive. They played well against the Bears. 20-point win. It's not like the Bears are a good team by any means, but the Redskins, they can put up some points. Offensively, they're a scary team, and technically they could still, with a little help, they could still sneak into the 6th seed in the NFC. So keep an eye on that for this upcoming weekend. Kirk Cousins had a nice game. 270 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Deshaun Jackson continues to be a threat this year. He had 5 receptions for 114 yards. Moving along here, the Falcons look like another team atop the NFC that many people don't want to run into. I mean, that offense just keeps chugging. Right now, if the playoffs started today, they'd be the number 2 seed, and it's looking like they'll probably stay there. But Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, they have so many weapons offensively. Taylor Gabriel, that it's just hard to match up everywhere. And so, especially playing in Atlanta, that's a good home field advantage for them. Falcons are a tough team, and they could be a tough out here in these playoffs. They might make it all the way to the NFC Championship game. We don't know. Seahawks dropped a bad game this past weekend. They have no business losing to the 6-8 Cardinals. I mean, that's just unbelievable. Yes, the Cardinals are a talented team that are better than their record. I do agree with that. But, I mean, in Seattle, the Seahawks just played terribly. Came out flat, dominated by the Cardinals defense in the first half, and just could never really recover from there. The Cardinals were able to establish the run game, play great defense. And, Seattle's looking a little vulnerable. Over the past 4 years, they've been pretty amazing, winning a Super Bowl a couple years ago and appearing a couple years ago. They won one, I think it was 3 years ago. But, I mean, they've been a dominant force for the past 4 years, but they're showing some signs of vulnerability. Their offense can't be trusted, and they have some injuries in the secondary that could prove to be fatal for them. I think teams are going to be able to expose them down the middle of the field without Earl Thomas, and I think their offense has become pretty predictable because they don't have much of a run game. So when they're away from Seattle, they're not too good. So we will see what happens there. But Seattle, honestly, is a team that could be upset in the early rounds. Steelers are very happy with the results of this weekend's games. Not only did the Raiders take a huge hit, losing their starting quarterback Derek Carr, the Steelers were able to squeak out a win, clinch the 3 seed in the AFC. So, I mean, their road to the title begins now. I'd say the only other threat between them and the Patriots would be the Kansas City Chiefs, who played an outstanding game on Christmas night, just demolished the Broncos 33-10. The knock on the Chiefs the past recent years was, they haven't had the offensive explosiveness to make a run far into the playoffs or be a Super Bowl level team. But I think they've compiled one of the best rosters in the entire NFL. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Spencer Ware are all providing to be good weapons for that Kansas City offense. If Alex Smith is able to continuously move the ball down the field, it doesn't always have to be these big chunk plays, but if their offense can get into the red zone and convert against good teams, against good defenses, the Broncos are a very good defense, and they just tore them apart. So if they can do that against Denver, I think Kansas City is another really hot team right now that a lot of people in the AFC do not want to run into. Going over to the NFC, the Cowboys might be the hottest team in football, not just the NFC. Absolutely steamrolled a playoff contender in the Lions, who now have to win upcoming Week 17 to even make the playoffs. The Cowboys looked amazing on all fronts. Ezekiel Elliott, 80 yards, 2 touchdowns, with a long run of 55 yards. Just outran the safety. Just true, incredible talent between speed and power. We haven't seen someone like him in a long time. Dak Prescott continues to play at a very high level. 212 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, for a passer rating of 148.3. That's just unreal numbers for a rookie. Dez Bryant even got in on the action. He threw a touchdown to Jason Witten, and he had 70 yards receiving for 2 touchdowns. So I think that's a big key for Dallas. If Dak and Dez, for them to continue to develop their chemistry, and if they can really just attack the outside with Dez Bryant, those fade routes, keep the threat of the outside and the deep ball there, I think the Cowboys offense will be a nightmare to stop in the playoffs. Let's take a look now at the playoff picture as it stands currently in the NFL. We'll start with the AFC. 1 seed would be the Patriots, 2 seed the Raiders, 3 seed the Steelers, 4 seed the Texans, 5 seed the Chiefs, and 10 seed the Miami Dolphins. As it stands now, believe the Patriots will finish with the 1 seed. Don't see anyone catching them mathematically it's not possible because they have 13 wins. Only way it'd be possible is if they lost and the Raiders won, but with Derek Carr going down, that doesn't seem likely. Also, another interesting curveball will be if the Chiefs win and the Raiders lose, they will both be 12-4, and the Chiefs have the edge there as far as the tiebreaker goes from the head-to-head record. So the Chiefs would move to the 2 seed. And this is very possible because the Chiefs play San Diego and the Raiders play Denver, who is a tough opponent. And San Diego has been pretty bad this year, coming off a loss to the Browns. So we like this Chiefs' chances to win. And honestly, the Raiders could lose with a backup quarterback against Denver, which would push them all the way down to the 5 seed. A 12-win 5 seed, that would be truly insane, but it's what's looking like is going to happen, in my humble opinion. Steelers are set at 3. Don't think they can be overtaken. The Texans are set at 4. And the Dolphins are set at 6. So all the teams are set in the AFC. No one can come from the outside to make the playoffs. The only thing that could happen would be a switch between the Raiders and the Chiefs as far as seeding goes. NFC, a little bit more interesting, little bit more action here on the NFC side of things. Aside from the Cowboys, no one can touch them, 13-2, mathematically impossible for anyone else to get to the 1 seed. The Falcons, Seahawks, Packers, and Giants are all very close to each other. The Falcons and Giants have 10 wins. However, the Giants are stuck at the 5 seed. They can't move. So the Cowboys and Giants are stuck because the Giants cannot catch the Cowboys, and the only way for the Giants to move up would be to win their division, and that's not going to happen because Dallas has already clinched it. So the movement is possibly between 2 through 4 here, the Falcons, Seahawks, and Packers. Seahawks and Packers both have 9 wins, and the Falcons have 10 wins. So if the Falcons were to lose and the Seahawks and Packers win, they could be leapfrogged, which would be very interesting. Seahawks definitely want that 2 seed. And they play the Niners this upcoming week, which is a very winnable game. In comparison, the Falcons have a way tougher matchup than the Seahawks. The Falcons play the Saints, who have a very explosive offense and have been known to hang with teams this year. They have a 7-8 record, but they're one of those teams that are probably better than what their record says. But the most interesting game remaining in the NFC by far is Green Bay versus Detroit. This will be played at the Lions Stadium. Good news for Detroit fans. If the Lions lose this game and the Redskins win their game, then the Lions will be eliminated from playoffs, which is quite remarkable considering I believe they were sitting at 9-4 a couple weeks ago. They've been falling recently. So huge showdown. I believe it's on Sunday night. Packers-Lions. And honestly, I think the Packers will win. Very hot team right now. Aaron Rodgers playing at a very high level against the Lions secondary, who was just shredded by rookie Dak Prescott. I mean, just imagine what future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers does to them. Doesn't look good for Detroit. They put themselves in a bad spot. But if they lose and the Redskins also lose, they will still make playoffs. Redskins don't have an easy game either. They play against the Giants. Redskins are at home. Giants are a good team. It's a divisional matchup. Remains to be seen if the Giants will play all of their starters, as they can't really move from the 5 seed. They're kind of stuck there. So we will see. They probably will, is my guess. But I'm thinking the Redskins win this game. I'm going to take the Redskins here just for the drama purpose. I think the Redskins actually might be a better team despite the records. I think the Redskins have better personnel, and the Giants offense has really struggled. So it's not a good matchup as far as when you play the Redskins, you have to put up points because their offense is so dynamic. And I don't know if the Giants will be able to match their point total in this game, so that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on for sure. Well, that just about does it for us here at 4th and Inches, episode 16. The playoffs are set. Week 17 has yet to come. Some very intriguing matchups over the weekend as far as seeding is concerned, and even a couple teams in the NFC on the brink of making playoffs or being knocked out of playoffs. So stay tuned for that as we will watch Week 17 with eager eyes. I'm your host, Nate Smith. Thanks for listening to 4th and Inches.